It's a real pleasure. Thank you. Thank you very much.
So say we all.
We will.
We got a lot of applause for, we're going to cover the spectrum here, but, there's Blade Runner fans, there's Miami Vice fans. You're one of these really rare actors that has the ability to say that you either were nominated or you either won a Golden Globe, an Oscar, an Emmy, and a Tony. What are you most proud of when it comes to looking at, hey, that was really cool that the Tony thing, or the Emmy thing, or the Golden Globe. Is it all the same to you, or is there something that sticks out and says, hey, professionally, that is very satisfying?
No, I think that the accolades that one receives is the bonus, is the, frosting on top of the cake. The cake, the true sense of what we do is in the work, and the passion goes to the highest when you do work that really grabs you and moves you. The stories do. Any Dexter fans out there? For those of you that didn't see Dexter, don't. It is entirely sick. But, how can you say, other than, there's only one thing you can say whenever you receive any kind of accolade is thank you. And I thank all of the people who have given me their respect, their kindness, their love throughout the years. I've been doing this a long time. I'm 65. I know I look good, but I'm middle-aged.
But aged very well.
Thank you. Thank you. I feel good. But I got to tell you, when it comes to which one of the awards, or which one of the, you're really saying which one of the projects or the stories or the movies or the television series that you did most affects you, they all did. I've done two things that really I did to help other people. And they needed it, and they wanted it, and they deserved it. And it wouldn't have been my way of spending my time. But it was okay, because I found that their work was incredible. All the work that was being done on the projects was incredible. But I got to say that everything that I've done has been extraordinary for me. I've been very fortunate. And how can you compare, the gifts, the privilege that I've had from the very beginning has been that I've done things like Zoot Suit, I've done El Pacino, I've done, Lieutenant Castillo, I've done,
Stand and Deliver with
Gaff, Stand and Deliver. The work that I've been able to do, it hasn't been a lot. I mean, there's some of my peers that have done, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of television and motion pictures, and I've done, 100. But the work that I've done has been really so satisfying. So, yes, I am very grateful that I've received the accolades. I think that they're all incredible. I mean, a Tony or a Golden Globe or an Oscar or, any one of the things, the Emmys, whatever they've said here, thank you very much. I say, are you kidding? Thank you, me? I thank you. I thank you for bringing awareness and understanding to our craft. So, real happy.
One of my responsibilities as PR director for Emerald City Comicon is I have to do up a press release on every time a celebrity gets signed. We're like, okay, hey, you have to, and I do quite a bit about your career because I love you since Miami Vice and Zoot Suit you mentioned before. Any fans of Zoot Suit out there? Love you in Stand and Deliver. And I thought I knew pretty much most about you, that I wouldn't even have to look anything up and I could just write your press release without even checking. Is it true, because I discovered this in looking it up, that you were offered, before Patrick Stewart, the role of the captain of the Enterprise in Star Trek The Next Generation?
Yes, it is true.
So obviously, they weren't going to make you French. It was going to be a Hispanic captain of the Enterprise.
I have no idea how they're going to handle that, the cultural dynamic of the piece, but I personally just couldn't get involved at that time. I was working, so. And it was a blessing. And I know a lot of people say, oh my God, you missed a great opportunity. Yes, fame and fortune would have been mine a lot more. I got it. But the fame and fortune were the reason that I got into this business, then I would have done Scarface, The Line of Fire, Firestarter, all the films that they offered me that I didn't do. And there was a reason why I didn't do it. And all personal and about story. And so basically when I went and I didn't do that, I got Battlestar instead. So, I would have never been able to do Battlestar had I done, Star Trek. So,
and that wasn't the first time with Star Trek that you were offered a pretty prominent role. I also discovered that at some point you were offered the role of Commander Krug in Star Trek 3.
Yes, that's true.
Did anybody know this?
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate, and I loved all those programs, and I loved all the Star Trek, and I loved all the things that I've turned down are great films. Scarface with Al Pacino is a great movie. And The Line of Fire with John Malkovich played my role is a great movie. Those are great pieces of work. But at the time, to choose between doing one or the other, it's like I was given the opportunity to do West Wing. I did the judge, okay, Mendoza, and the first Supreme Court Justice of the Supreme Court, Justice of the Supreme Court, who was a Latin. And it was wonderful, and they wanted me to stay on the series. And I said, I really wish I could, but I can't because I'm going to go off and do American Family. American Family is a little PBS, wonderful, wonderful show that maybe 10 people saw it. But it was just so rewarding and so needed. It was the very first all culturally Latino cast and themed project ever placed on broadcast television in the history of broadcast television. You must understand, man, I mean, it's not that, I believe that everything should be the way it is, it should, but we should be augmenting our understanding that, there's a whole cultural dynamic, the Asian cultures, the indigenous cultures, the Latino cultures that have never been represented in film and television. And if they are, like the Latinos are less than 2% of all the images we see on film and television. Asian and indigenous are less than 0.5% that we see. So this really, we're off balance, Thank God the African American experience has now grown to 17% of all the images that we see. And, but that isn't the way our demographic is in this country. We're not less than 2% of the population being Latin. The indigenous people are not less than 0.5%, and neither are the Asian. And yet they're not represented inside of our art forms. And so the storytelling is done from a pure Caucasian perspective, which is nothing wrong with that, except that isn't the way the world is. And you're really leaving out and losing a great majority of people when you only go with one culture. When we're all one race anyway. You know that. And, so it's hard because we were all taught, and I remember, did anybody see me at the UN, United Nations? When we were in the UN, and I had no idea I was going to get called to do anything like that in my lifetime. And we got called in to do a panel for the United Nations, and they used Battlestar Galactica. And so they asked me my opinion when I was on the days, and they ended up asking me, what my feelings were, and I said, I really was sorry, but I don't believe that there is a Latin race or a Caucasian race or an African race or an Asian race or an indigenous race. There's only one race, and that's a human race. Yeah. And the people went nuts. And I said, there is none, because we're all just one race, and inside of that one race, there are different cultures and ethnicities. There are Caucasian, African, Latino, Asian, indigenous. There are all kinds of different cultures, and you cannot say that the Irish are like the English, because they'll slap you in the face. Are you kidding me? Or like the Cubans like the Puerto Rican, like the Japanese like the Chinese. They'll also slap you in the face. And because they're all different, distinct different cultures and ethnicities, but they're all of the same race, the human race. And until we come to terms with that, we have a big problem. And you see what's happening. It's happening in the Mediterranean, right now. It's happening in the world, all over the world. We're killing each other because of the different cultures that we are. And so the only thing that unifies us is the fact that we're all one race. And yet that's been the biggest, way of dividing us that there's been since 1470, I think, is when they started to use the word race as a cultural determinant. And they only did that for one reason, so it'd be easier for us to kill each other. It's hard to kill your own race, so that's the reason why. So, what can I tell you? I mean, I'll go on forever talking about this.
There was a powerful. There was a powerful movie that was nominated, and I can't think of his name, Latino actor for Best Actor this last year, For a Better Life.
Oh yeah, Damien Bichir.
Did anybody see that film?
Better Life?
It was one of my wife and I's favorites, and we started talking about this, and I said, he was robbed. It is not a race thing. That was the best performance any actor gave last year. And my wife says to me, hey, you know the trivia. What was the last Latino actor that was nominated? And I said 25 years ago, Edward James Olmos for Stand and Deliver in 1988. That is the truth, isn't it?
I was the second one that's ever been nominated in the history of the Academy Awards. First one was Jose Ferrer, and he won for Cyrano de Bergerac.
So 3 in the history of Oscars over 80 years, 3 Latino actors.
It was myself, it was Jose Ferrer, myself, for lead actors in a movie, because Anthony Quinn won, but he won it for supporting actor, right? It's about that, and then he was nominated again. But Javier Bardem got nominated, and but all I can tell you is that there are very few people of different cultures that really get to stand up there. I'm not kidding you, and it's so sad. I was so happy with the artists. I mean, we gave it to the French. That was great.
Well, let's talk about a movie that didn't win any Oscars, Blade Runner.
That was, let me tell you, most of you are too young to remember its opening already. It opened in 1981. We shot it in 1980. And so most of you weren't even born yet, but you gotta remember one thing. When that movie came out, nobody enjoyed it.
I liked it.
I did too. I loved the movie. But man, I sat there in the audience. And I was in New York, and I went to the huge theater. There was about 1,000 people in it. And as soon as the lights went out, man, the joints came out. People We're in New York. It's 11 o'clock in the morning. And we started to watch this movie. And I had seen it, but I'd never seen it with an audience, so I sat there with the audience. And I heard people about a third of the way through when, Harrison Ford was getting his butt kicked for the 7th time, okay, that they were bored. They didn't like the movie because their hero, remember, he had done Star Wars, he had done Raiders of the Lost Ark, he had done Return of the Jedi, and he was scheduled to do another Raiders. And so he had done 3 of the biggest films in the history of filmdom ever. And here he was in now this big, great movie called Blade Runner, and he was getting his butt kicked every step of the way. Your hero was thrown to he couldn't take on the replicants. He was just really having a lot of problems. So they couldn't get behind their action hero getting himself annihilated. And it really became an issue, a big one. And people just didn't go to see it. They didn't like it. It took a few years. England loved it. They gave it everything under the sun. They gave it all of their accolades because it was a brilliant motion picture. And it's the finest sci-fi movie ever made. And Ridley Scott should feel very proud of what he's done, because if you saw the movie today, you swear it was made yesterday. I mean, it's just amazing. The story is amazing, and it's timeless, and it's going to hold. And so I got to tell you, as far as I'm concerned, Blade Runner was totally trashed for at least 10 years in this country.
Does it make you upset when people like prominent reviewers like Roger Ebert trash it, and they want to reinvent their reviews 10, 20 years later and say, well, actually, it was a really good film. Yeah. It's like, well, gee, thanks for that back when it came out.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, most of them retract. You should see how many retractions we got for, Stand and Deliver. Stand and Deliver, they kind of dismissed it, And all of a sudden, that's the #1 most viewed film in the history of film in the United States of America. Everybody that has seen it, they're looking at it right now, somewhere in this country, in a schoolroom. How many of you saw it in your classrooms? They use it like they use the textbook in that classroom. They just, like, especially math departments, they just use it. Here you go, man, you gotta watch the movie. I've seen it, yeah, well, you're gonna watch it again.
We got to let everybody else in on this, but while you're queuing up, I want to ask you one last Blade Runner question here. There's been a lot of talk recently that Ridley Scott's trying to gear up, and a legitimate talk, like it's actually going to happen, to do a sequel to this. Wow. What have you heard about this?
Nothing, you know.
First question.
Yeah. I've heard absolutely nothing.
Would you love to do it? I mean, if they work some kind of story.
You know, they're not going to use us. They're not going to use anybody.
That's what Boxleitner said.
Well, I think that somebody told me just the other day that they were talking to Harrison about it, and I said, wow, that would be really incredible. But I don't think they're going to use Gaff or use, you know, any of the other players. You know, again, I would love to be in that movie. I would love to be in that film, but. You know,
was he a replicant? Was he a replicant?
Yes, he was. Of course. Decker?
Yeah.
Yeah, of course he was. Didn't you see the unicorn? What part of that didn't you get? No. I got it. I bet you did. We're playing with you.
Hey. I know what the replicant. I know what it meant. Where are we at? First question. Go right ahead.
First of all, Mr. Olmos, I want to thank you for your great example as both an artist and as an activist. I'm sure there's a lot of people who are very inspired by your example in this room right now. So first of all, I want to thank you for that. And secondly, it would be a great honor and a thrill if you could put on your Admiral Adama hat and make a brief inspirational speech and lead us in a cheer of So Say We All.
That comes at the end. Stick around. Right over there.
Hi, I really admire you as an actor, but honestly, my greatest admiration for you is as an activist. I'm also an activist. Last year, we had a game changer, Occupy. And the meme now is that Occupy is dead. Occupy is not dead, it's wintering over. So I'm just wondering, given your UN and other activist things, if we might be able to possibly have you come join us.
I've always been a part of that. You know, Occupy Wall Street